Welcome to Between the Pages. I'm your host, Markayla, and tonight we have the beautiful and talented Kaige Kiera. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have you in tonight.
Glad to be
Listen,
here.
that list was getting longer and longer, and I was like, I know she's like, when is something coming out? I know. I was like, I'm getting there. I'm getting her before the end of this year. I promise you that. Listen, where you joining us in from?
Katy, Texas, right outside of Houston.
Texas. I want to
Yeah.
come to Houston. I want to come to Houston.
Come. It's definitely huge. You can go from one side of Houston and have to drive 30 to 45 minutes to get to the other side. So you're still in Houston.
My homegirl is from Houston.
Mhm.
So she used to say the same thing about going to church and everything take them like an hour and take an hour something to get to just like 5, 10 minutes down the road. I'm a country girl, so I don't think I could do all of that.
Nah, I'm
But
from New Orleans. It's definitely different out here in Houston.
oh yeah, definitely if you're from New Orleans, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of people from New Orleans go down to Texas though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my
They
husband's people do the same thing. They went down to Texas.
They do. It's kind of the one thing I love about Houston that's not really New Orleans is that it is big. New Orleans is just like a bowl.
Hmm.
Versus where Houston is just like you go here and it's still 30 minutes. You go there, still 30 minutes. And there's a the cultures is different regardless of where you go. Because here in Texas, everybody that say they're from Houston has a different accent.
Oh,
It is so weird because I'd be like, "Where you from? Houston?" And then I talk to another dude, and I'd be like, "Your accent sound different. Where you from? Houston?" I'm like, "Okay."
I think the same thing when I go down to Mississippi I done said this before on the show, but I mean, like literally when I go from one side of Mississippi where my husband's from and I go across the
Hmm.
street, like literally over the bridge, like next to Bogalusa and stuff like that, they start saying the baby and stuff like that. And I was like, we didn't go nothing but like 10 minutes.
A
And
whole different accent.
yeah, a whole different accent. So let's get into between the pages. How did you start writing, girl?
So it's a funny story, and I always bring it up. I was reading the Blueford High series book, and I wanted to write like how they written their books, how it was like condensed into like the small little book, but it's had like 10 chapters. And it was actually a urban twist on Ding Dong Ditch. So that was like my very first short story that I had written. And then from there, I guess I used to think that something was like mentally wrong with me. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Because I could sit in class, and this was when I was in high school, and I would hear like voices and it come out like stories, and I thought I was tripping. I thought I still had imaginary friends. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and my friends, they used to always come to me, want me to write like a poem for their boyfriend or something, and I used to be like, okay, here, $5. Here go the poem. He's gonna fall in love, right? And then one day in class, I just started like typing on Wattpad, and I just started, putting those voices to paper, and it's just been kind of stuck. So I just dibbled and dabbled into writing because it was like it was there, but then again, I was kind of like scared. So I kind of been writing for like a long, long, long time. It's just
Yeah.
now I just started to really get serious with it.
So when did you start publishing your first book?
When COVID hit. So I moved out of New Orleans and I moved back home with my parents. At the time, they were staying in California. And I was like, this is like a fresh start. Let me, do all the things that I was scared to do. So I sat down, and that very same story that I kept rewriting over and over in high school, I just put it all into words and try to get it to flow a certain way so it can really paint the picture of the voices that I was hearing when I was 16, when I was 15 and 16 in high school. And then I had got that book published like in March. So I think COVID hit that November of 2022. I mean, or 2020, and then that following year, I published Twisted Family.
You know, a couple of authors that we've had on, like I guess COVID was like the motivation and got everybody's battery in their back, and they was like, "No, I'm about to start writing."
Right.
Yeah, like they, I ain't wrote nothing, but I'm about to start writing because I need to make
Mhm.
some money, right? Did you find it hard to get those stories that was in your head onto paper?
So yeah, but then again, no. It was easy to get the words out. My biggest challenge was really digging deep into those emotions that my characters was going through. Um, so I had to literally sit down and, as I would say, like really become one with the character. Like, as she's sad, how is she feeling this emotion? Is she just standing there crying? Is she being over dramatic? Who is my character? That's when I really start to really dig deep into the craft of actually writing, because it's one thing to have a character talking, it's another thing to really become that character and really feel their emotions and really feel where they're going from it and actually understand their journey. Because if you don't understand their journey, then it's like you're really just writing just to be writing.
Right, right. How many books have you written to date?
Oh, like
Uh-oh.
50, 16, 17. I really haven't been counting.
Really?
Let's see, that was four, two. I'll say like 15 is between 15 to 17.
So how many have you actually published?
So I published all of them. Oh, excuse me, Roscoe, my dog. I published all of them, but I am in the midst of condensing the Twisted Family series into one, so I took it down. And then the other series that I have written, I'm condensing that down into one big standalone.
Okay, okay. So you got someone in your belt. So it wasn't
Yeah.
that hard for you then.
It wasn't. It was just more so I'm the type of person where I wanted like a lot of drama. like
Yeah.
like nothing traumatic happened to me, but I always feel as though I've been around people who had traumatic experience
Mhm.
and they've been through some stuff, but yet they're still this smiling, helpful individual. So they kind of like gave me a blueprint of that. Even though you can have some traumatic things happen to you, you can still come out on top. So
Right.
really my books kind of started off on like a dark tip because I was big on mental health. It was like the biggest generational curse that I always put in my books was what goes on in this house stays in this house, right? And I paint this picture of how it really can affect that particular person and the stuff that they have to do to, depending on the character, because they can go either way. They can overcome it or they can fall victim to it and repeat the process.
Right. Let's talk about that. Um,
Okay.
let's talk about that because in the Black family, in the Black community period too, we are big on what goes on in this house stays in this house. Um, and even in marriages, what goes on in this marriage stays in this marriage.
Mhm,
And I do agree with that one to a certain extent. But at the same time, they'll go as far as even if you have single friends, don't deal with your single friends, or you can't
right.
tell somebody that's single out, so we take stuff really, to heart, and it can be very damaging when we
Mhm,
get older because we will sweep stuff under the rug, and then when you wake up, we have a mountain and we can't see over the other side anymore because
mhm,
we have swept so much stuff under the rug. So tell me about a character inside of your book that has dealt with some mental stuff that has like been that let's keep this inside of the house type thing.
Oh, so anybody that has that has read my original, like my very first books, know that all of my characters are mental.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest one for me, the one who always held my heart, is she's from the Twisted Family series. Many people don't like her, but many people understand her story. And that was like the biggest thing that I wanted people to understand. You can hate her, but understand where she's coming from. And a lot of people understood. But her name is Ivy. Ivy Harris. She basically was born into this family. Her mother um came from this religious background, but her mother pretty much went through some traumatic experience when she was a little girl with her uncle. And the trauma of that basically moved on to Ivy. And Caroline, which is her mother, um, she let it happen, right? Because she was like, when it happened to me, my mother didn't try to save me, so you just got to deal with it, right? So Ivy grew up to basically kind of look for that hardening of men that don't understand that there's a different type of love to give to a female. So she kind of took what she dealt with in her childhood, and it kind of went with her into her adulthood, and she ran across a guy that basically treated her like her own uncle treated her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He wasn't supportive. He was very abusive. She tried to get away, and she found love from a different person, but it was the fact that by this time she's so damaged that she feels as though that the only person that understands her demons is the man that she's been with.
Right.
So she went back, and that's when it sort of starts to become like a little struggle, because now her sister, it was a lot, but her sister got involved, and it was a family issue where Ivy was considered just mental patient, but everybody loved the sister, the baby sister, because she seemed so innocent, but she wasn't innocent. It
Okay.
was just that Ivy's demons were a little bit more out there for everybody to judge, and everybody had an opinion on it. But when it came down to her younger sister had demons as well, but hers was more hidden. So it kind of played a part into who Ivy actually became as an adult as well.
Okay. So, a lot of people escape, read books to escape, read books because they're going through similar things. And most time there are like mental stuff that they having
Mm-hmm.
to go through. So when author write about, mental health and dealing with things like that, I mean, you want to feel like you're not crazy. You want to feel like somebody else out there is dealing with some of this. And even though it's fiction and it be like far-fetched, it don't be. It's somebody else's reality.
Mm-hmm.
So, I commend you guys that write on mental health. And because her story is probably, I know, is identical to someone else's, you know. I can probably tell you somebody right now in my family that deals with some of the stuff you just mentioned, even down to some of the things that you just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you just decide that, okay, I'm gonna be writing about mental health in my books?
Uh, so it
Or it
kind of
just
just
happened?
yeah, it kind of just happened when I was growing up. My mom always used to like to watch Lifetime movies, and I was right there with her. So my dad made a comment, and I was so young that I didn't really understand. He was like, "You always watching movies that's just so graphic," and she was like, "If they don't have nobody on drugs, getting beat on, what type of movies I'm watching?" Okay, so that was her preference. That's the type of movies
Mhm.
she liked. And Lifetime had those type of movies, even though they showed it from a Caucasian perspective,
Yeah.
that still happens in Black households because, we keep things under wrap. But, sometimes people put out a movie that just shows that. So when I started writing Twisted Family, it had so many different ways that it could have went, but that theme of it was still the same. And so when I finally sat down to say, okay, I'm going to finish the story, I just let it flow. Whatever happened, happened. And then it got to a point to where one of the readers that read the book messaged me and was like, how you know my life story?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Twisted Family. Where did you get the inspiration? I'm like, just being around. I've been in public school, I've been in Catholic school, private school, so I know how to maneuver through the crowds. And that's pretty much what I was trying to go with when it came down to the two sisters. We have one that went to private school, is considered like the one person that can probably make it out of the city, and everybody loves her, but nobody really knows who she is. But she's diabolic, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a person who we know what she went through. The whole neighborhood know what she went through, but yet people still judge her. People didn't reach out to help her when she was younger. So now you have a child that's a product of her environment, because even though she's an adult, she's still a child, right? Because mentally, she never healed. And they judge her. They're like, oh, you're grown. You should just get over it. And it's like, how do you get over something that happened to a kid?
Right.
So I wanted to put all of that into a book, and I just kept it there because I said, even if nobody reads the book, the fact that this one particular reader read it and said, how did you know my life story? And actually told me what she went through, I felt like my message made it clear, because eventually Ivy does get her happy ending, and I was so happy for her. But it was kind of a dark read, because I know when I written book 3, which was all about her childhood, I was kind of a little bit skeptical, because I did write, and it's a trigger warning. I did write about the abuse. I did write about her mother in a little bit more graphic light, but in my head, I was like, it has to be told. Somebody been through this. I
Right.
know somebody that been through this. And I wanted to paint a picture that no matter what happened in your past, no matter what demons you're facing today, there's always a brighter future.
Right. And
You just have to,
go
mhm.
ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You just have to make the necessary steps, no matter how small, how slow that you think the start is. Still make those small steps, because she was making those small steps to healing, and people hated her for it.
It seemed like that one is your baby.
It is.
I'm picking up on that one is close to your heart.
It is.
Um, and it's I wanted you to go ahead and elaborate on the story because I mean, even if they're not on here today, or they can listen to it, or they view it, or they see it on YouTube or whatever, they'll know that Twisted Family is by Kaige Kiera, and she wrote it, and it's got mental health in it, and it's someone that dealing with trauma, and how she end up. I mean, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to show that I can get through this. I can get, I will overcome this. Happiness is on the other side of this. So that's what it's about. That's what it's
Yeah,
about. Are you a reader?
I am. Crazy thing about me. I always say that I am not a romance reader. I may Some people be like, "What, you don't read romance?" It's just like, I think I'm becoming into my mama. It needs to have some type of drama for me.
Okay.
But more so, I'm huge on fantasy books, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Right now I'm reading the Hunger Game books. So those are like my happy space. That's how I am able to escape. Even though
After
I
all the
don't write
drama,
the
after
huh?
all the drama, yeah.
I need a
After all the
second.
drama. So speaking of you writing in genre, I mean, I'm drama. Is there a genre that you haven't written in that you would like to write in?
I actually want to try my hand at horror because I am a big horror fan. I actually wrote a short story, but the way I written that short story, I scared myself for a whole week.
No.
I couldn't sleep without the lights
So you
because
was
when you
doing too much up in there then.
because the whole concept was it has something to do with moving into a new house and something underneath the bed. I'm gonna have to find the story because I literally just put it out of my mind. And something like my biggest fear growing up, because I had this nightmare so many times. I used to stay on the West Bank of New Orleans, and the street that I stayed on, it was like they only had scattered street lights. So I always had a dream that if I walk out, stand in the middle of the street, look to the for some reason, if I look to the left of me, I am going to see somebody standing at the end of the street looking at me.
Girl,
And then
don't
I'm
scare
just gonna
me.
freak out as it's running towards me. Now it could have been zombies, it could have just been some ghosts trying to chase me. But I had this dream so many times, and it's the fact that my grandmother used to tell me tales of how her sister was born with a veil over her eyes and how she can see this tall person following her in her house. That kind of spooked me. And then I had my own kind of ghost encounters because I know I'm not tripping, but I know when I was 11, I woke up and I saw a shadow leaving out my room. But that stayed with me. So it's like that is like my biggest fear to where if I'm in a dark room, I just see a even darker shadow and it's just looking at me. And I
Mhm.
put that into a book and I was just like, you know what?
I'm gonna
No.
leave this right here.
I'm not gonna go no further. No, I feel like it would be a good book, but no. I'm
Eh,
gonna have to take my time with it.
I'm not the horror person at all because I'm like, I can look outside and I see enough going on for me. But I get it. I mean, especially, with ghosts and, things that you see and things like that, of course. And you're from New Orleans. So you already know
Hmm.
how that goes. Yeah. It's how you grew up, what you see and everything like that. And it's if you're spiritual or not too. A lot of people are spiritual. And then a lot of people just do not believe in none of that because they just want to get it out of their heads, period. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely understand that. So you don't think you're gonna ever do it?
I won't say never. What I'm
Just right
thinking
now.
is, yeah, probably have to write a chapter a year. Because to say that that was a short story and I didn't look back at it, it
Well,
was
it
a
was too
lot.
much then. It was too
It
much.
was yeah, that little I think it was like 2,000 words and it was enough for me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you come up with your titles when you hear it? How do you come up with your titles of your story?
So I have an idea of what a title would be, but then I'll always ask, somebody else for like a different word choice
Mhm.
to see what would actually fit the story a little bit more because I want to make sure that it's not only eye-catching, but it still fits the story. Because I know a lot of readers are like, why would you name your book this if this is not what it's about? And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Because why would I name my book Roses and she don't even like roses? She's like tulips.
Mhm.
So when I come up with titles, I'm looking for like a title that will not only fit the story, but will also match my writing style and also match me.
Yeah. Yeah. On a typical day, how much time do you spend writing?
If I'm not procrastinating or watching Criminal Minds, I could spend all day. Lately it's been about at least I try to put at least 4 hours aside just for writing or either writing or just outlining a story or just letting the characters talk to me just so I can know what's going to flow next because I can't write if they don't talk. And I can't really put something on paper if I don't understand where they're coming from. So I try to tell them, hey, we need to get it together. Where are we? And
Yeah.
they're like, we're here. I'm like, okay, how did we get here? So it's sort of like a therapy conversation. I'm the therapist. They're sitting on the couch, like, I really just don't like him. Why you don't like him?
So
And
they
we just
always
kind of go from
talking.
there. Yeah. It's like, okay, now y'all talking too much. One at a time.
Right. Right. What is the most difficult part for you about writing?
Actually releasing the book.
Y'all go into a whole panic attack.
It's something about putting the book out there and just waiting for a reader to say, I like this or I don't like this. And it's like, well, why you don't like it? I love when readers are when they critique because I'm always open to feedback. So if they come and they actually critique it and they're like, hey, this didn't really flow right. Maybe she should have did this, maybe she should have did that. I'm appreciative of that. They're giving me feedback for the next book. So I'll know how I need to deliver certain things. Cause I'm not gonna say I'm not like a very emotional person. It's kind of hard to really write somebody that's crying and really trying to understand why they're crying because I don't really consider myself a crybaby, but I have a character who is a crybaby, and I'm trying to understand her personality and where she's coming from. So I kind of just like try to take my time to develop her personality, and if she's a crybaby, then I need to paint her in that light as a crybaby. So when the readers read it, they're like, she was a crybaby. But if that point didn't get across, and they're like, she was all over the place or she really wasn't that or just that and the third and they come with critiques, then I try to put that in my next work. So when I do have another character, I'm trying to develop their characteristics. I know what readers really look for versus somebody saying, oh, I just don't like the book because I don't like how it ended. Like at this point, not everybody has a happily ever after.
Right.
So it's just, it's kind of like it's kind of like a waiting game when the book is released and you're just waiting for a reader to come in and say, hey, yeah, I want to fight because why would you have them do that?
Right. Right.
I love those readers too. Like, okay.
So that first review comes in and let's say they love it, right? And the reviews after that, they like, where's your mind go then? As you going with that first reader, they're like, oh, are you just like that was for them, and this is not for the other ones? I mean, tell me about that.
Yeah. So there's like a range of emotions because it did happen on my last release. Um, because this was like my first time actually writing a romance. The people that actually said, hey, 5 stars, I really appreciate it, Teddy is bae, I love them for that because okay, this is probably something that they wanted to get into. And for the people that was like, it was kind of all over the place, the biggest critic is me.
Mhm.
So I actually pulled up my edits and I read over my book and I'm like, maybe I could have done this better. And then I get into my head and I try to make notes, but I don't really, like some authors, they be like, it depends on the reader. Don't really read too much
Mhm.
into the reviews. And I kind of don't. But then again, if I see it, I want to know why. Okay, what made you say it was kind of all over the place? Because the next book that I drop and I have to really be mindful of the storylines or the timeline of that story. What can I do to make it a little bit more clear?
Right.
And that's what I look for.
Okay. Okay. So 50, 60 books. At what point was you like, I'm an author. I'm not a writer. I'm an author now.
Ah, uh, I'm still shocked that I'm an author. I'm
Okay.
still shocked when people say, "Hey, happy author day," and I'm like, "That's right, I'm an author."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
You
it's
are.
kind of weird, but then again, I kind of like it. So yeah, I'm still shocked myself.
Well, you are. I'm telling you right now. By 10, listen, you ain't got to tell me with so many books. Look, I am an author. No, but do you write full time?
I know I write part time because I do have a full time job. But my biggest goal is to let my craft pay for my lifestyle. So that's what I'm working towards.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes.
This is a part of the interview that's my favorite. It's game time. This
Okay.
is game time. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and it's the game. The name of the game is this or that. So
Okay.
no wrong, no right, no nothing like that. It's just one that you would pick versus the other one. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This or that with Kaige Kiera. Boss or hitter?
I want to go with
Yeah,
the
girl.
boss. He got money. he, he don't have to get his hands dirty.
You said the boss.
Yes.
All right. All right. This or that. One night stand or summer fling?
I'll go with a summer fling only because I kind of take my vacations during that time. So, keep me occupied while I'm on vacation. I like that.
You're not gonna be like, oh, when I leave, I'm just gonna be all in love.
No, no, a summer fling.
I got it. I got it. I got it. All
He got to
right.
be gone by the end of the vacation.
I got it. This or that. Netflix or Hulu?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say Hulu only because I've been binge watching Criminal Minds and Law and Order SVU. So right now Hulu is definitely getting paid next month. So yeah, Hulu.
All right, so here we go with this one. This or that. Ready?
Okay.
Gray sweatpants season or ball shorts summer?
I'm gonna say gray sweatpants season only because some of these men's legs be looking weird and they mess with my illusion. So with the gray sweatpants, it's kind of hard to tell how their legs look. So it kind of, it don't turn me off because I will stop talking to the dude if he looks like he missed leg day. Because it's
Got
just,
it.
it's just, it's just weird. Like I'm a fluffy girl. I just feel like if you miss leg day, your bones is gonna crack,
So you
and I'm
all
a
up
weird
here
crack.
and gone down there, yeah.
And it does, like, their legs be so skinny. Like if they take a step, you just hear a bone crack, and it's like, no, no, sir.
All right, last one. Well, no, two more. Gray, this or that. Physical book or Kindle Unlimited?
Physical.
Physical book. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
I love a physical book. I love to turn the page.
All right, last one. This or that. Hold on, this or that. One night stand with a baby or arranged marriage?
I have to think. Hmm, like who has the baby?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, arranged marriage. Somebody gotta take care of it.
So yeah,
I'm
so
saying,
you pick one night stand and you take the baby or arranged marriage. Like I don't know him, but we gotta get married.
we gotta get married.
All
I
right.
I'm,
All right.
we gotta get married. I ain't taking the baby.
Well, that was game time. Listen, everybody, when I do the last one, they like, what in the world is you talking about, Markayla? I am not about to be doing look, they on there one night stand. Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. So let's get back to you. Who are you outside of being an author?
Me, I am a nerd. I
Ain't
have
nothing wrong with that.
embraced it. I love video games. I love anime. I love going to the library. Love talking about Marvel. I can go into the deep end or the rabbit hole about almost anything. So yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna say I'm the world's biggest nerd, but I love fantasy and yeah, I am a nerd.
So you said Marvel, right?
Yes.
So you ain't with the DC.
Oh no, I would literally watch DC movies just to talk crap about them and say why Marvel is so much better when it comes down to storyline. But Marvel does have a few movies that do have plot holes.
Mhm.
But as far as a better concept and storytelling, it is Marvel versus where DC is like they're all over the place and they're trying to play catch up. Like prime example, DC was the first organization to come up with the multiverse, but yet they let Marvel take over and bring it to where it is today. Versus while DC is trying to play catch up and do their own thing, which is something that they created, which
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, you know.
We went to go see the Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
It was different.
See, I haven't watched it yet, but the people that I talked to, because I got kicked out of a few DC groups.
Oh, okay.
That's just how nervous I am. Um, a lot of people was like it was different, but it wasn't pretty much where if it ever comes down to a Marvel coming out with a movie the same time as Blue Beetle, Marvel probably would have outsold Blue Beetle. I haven't seen it yet to really give my opinion. Because I still haven't seen Flash. I may go see Aquaman, but I'm gonna take a look just to see because I love to form my own opinion. But yeah.
I actually liked it. It was probably for me, it was just some of the acting part. It was like overkill, but I
Mm-hmm.
actually liked it. I actually liked the story. I actually liked where it's going with it. You can tell it's gonna be a part two. I liked all of that. It was just more so. That was very dramatic on some of the scenes, and I was like, that could have been some more acting there or something. But
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty good. So we don't went over the reviews and everything like that. So we ain't even gonna tap on that. But tell me something that people don't know about you that you're willing to share.
Um, whew. And what don't people know about me? Very, I'm an ambivert. Like I'm kind of to myself. I'm kind of an outdoors person. I like to arrive to things on time. Like being on time is like something that I strive for. Being late is something that I hate now that I'm older for
Mhm.
some strange reason. I can't stand it. Um, Other than that, I really don't know what readers don't really know about me. I try to remain like an open book because if I want to attract readers, then they need to know who they're supporting. That's my biggest thing. And if they have a question about who I am, I try to be like, hey, well, what's your question? I'll let you know.
Right. That's one thing I like about doing the interviews. Sometimes we don't know or they don't know certain authors that write
Mm-hmm.
a particular book, or they don't know that you guys are just as human as everybody else. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can say I'm an author and they be like, "Oh, you rich," or
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah,
I
they be
told
like, "Oh, you rich.
I
I
told
see your stuff."
I told somebody my KDP money, the money that I get from Amazon, be just enough to pay for me to go to Chili's. and to go to a movie. That's about it. I am not rich. I would like to strive to be rich. Maybe it could pay a bill one day. Hopefully my car note. But other than that, I when I became a writer, the one thing that I always said was I don't really care how much money I make or how many reviews I get. I just want to write. That
Yeah.
was my thing. I just wanted to write. I just wanted to really say that, hey, I had this story on my mind since I was 15 or 16 years old. It's finally out there. So every story that comes to me afterwards, I made a vow to always put it on paper. Now, if it does good, that's great. Maybe it can help me pay for the next story that comes out. That's pretty much what I always strive for. If I make enough just to cover the editing and the book cover for the next book, just so I can keep the stories coming out and keep the characters happy and get them out there, because maybe they will influence somebody or tell somebody's story, or maybe shed a light to say, hey, this is happening to you now, but look how it turned for this character.
One thing I like about your story is that, you know, you're writing about something else. Sometimes you write and it's about your story. It's about stuff you've been through, right?
Mhm.
And it's like you open up and you like, no, I ain't really been through what I'm writing about, but somebody else's need to hear it. And that is hard to do too, because
Yeah.
now you're not writing from what you know. It's writing from what you've seen, you've heard or whatever. It's not from a personal experience. So that can be hard to do.
It is. My mom she still brings this up. She said I always bring home strays.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like friends with almost everybody. It doesn't matter who they are. If they need somebody to talk to, I am there. So a few of the stories that I have written came from my friends and what they went through, or what they told me that somebody else went through allegedly, because
Mm-hmm.
I still feel as though they went through it. They just didn't open up to me, but it's
Yeah.
cool. And then a lot of times it's conversations that I used to hear my grandmother talk about when she was on the phone with her people, and I was eavesdropping. Because to be honest, I really didn't know the concept of what goes on in this house, stayed in the house, because if something was wrong with me, my parents say, hey, you want to speak to a therapist? What
Mm-hmm.
is a therapist? That's my parents. They
Mm-hmm.
advocate for therapy. But the older people in my family, they were the ones who mention it, or I will see or I would hear about it, or my grandmother when she was getting up there in age, and I was just sit there and she would talk about how my great grandmother, she was light skinned, but she wanted light skinned babies, but she still had intercourse with dark skinned men. So that always I was like, that don't make sense. Why she just didn't have intercourse with a light skinned man? But she loved dark skinned men. And the fact that growing up and hearing about how there's this light skin versus dark skin, I was like, so this is really
Colorism.
real.
Yeah. It's
Like
colorism.
what?
Yes. Very
And
true.
I was just like, okay, so it kind of makes sense from my great grandmother's perspective, and then to hear about my great great grandmother, who was a dark skinned woman who she loved her boobs for some strange reason, but she was very eccentric, and just to hear stories about her, and I kind of play around with my family tree just a little bit and put it in my stories, because it kind of like it flows with their characters. And then I always have this my great grandmother. She was more, my dad used to call her the pistol starter. Like she shot her third husband and brought him to the hospital. So it was like I had these conversations with just my grandmother, and I had conversation with other people, and it's like I'm very empathetic with people, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like their energies float to me. So if they tell me something about anything, it's like, okay, so what are we doing? Are we fighting them? Are we pulling up on them? Like what? Because at this
Right,
point, you done got me upset. Now I feel as though they hurt my feelings. Like, what is we
right.
doing? It got to a point that now that I'm older, I have to tell my friends, well, I have to ask them, if you're calling me, is it about drama or is it about something that's light? Because I can't have your energy with me today because it's not gonna work right now. My energy is focused on positivity. Because if you call me and you say, hey, this man played with my heart, I'm gonna feel like he played with mine, and we gonna have to
Yeah,
pull up. And if you say, well, I'm mad at him today, but I ain't gonna be mad at him tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Forget you too. Because
yeah.
I'm tired. So it's like a lot of people energies, and I feel as though that when those energies came to me, they developed these characters. If that kind of makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
But yeah,
Make
so
perfect sense.
when
Mhm.
I write stories, I feel like these people energies just created these characters, and that's why they keep talking to me, because they know that I have this type of energy that where I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna listen. Because when my characters speak, I don't do nothing. I just sit there and listen, and I hear them out, and I'd be like, okay, so what can be done differently? Even though it's to write a book, but I feel like this heals that energy
Yeah,
until we're able to move on.
yeah. Have you thought about writing about colorism?
Um, Not really, but I feel as though once the time comes, it will. The only story that I really been thinking about writing is this religion book that I still haven't put out, because I've been debating, because I don't want nobody coming at me with pitchforks. It's pretty much my family is very religious. Well, not really very religious, but the older people in my family are very religious. And my dad used to tell me stories how when he was going to school, how he went to this church and they didn't want to help him, but they helped somebody else. And then there were other stories from other family members of their church days. So the storyline that I came up with, that the energy came up with, was pretty much, it was like the first family of the church, and how the pastor used the Bible to his advantage, and how his kids were basically just stuck having to be religious. Like they didn't have room to grow. They had to recite the Bible. If they didn't, it was just, a mess for them, like very nightmarish. So I really wanted to write that story, but then I kind of put it down because I'm not in the right headspace to write it. Because usually after writing Ivy's tale, and going and writing about her childhood and the abuse, I was kind of like in a dark place for like a month. I was kind of depressed. So in order for me to like write something like that's gonna dwell, that I know is gonna bring it that deep, because I know my energy and I know how my pen will really try to make it get it there. I have to be in the headspace for it.
Right. I agree. I agree. So what do we have to look forward to from you?
So I am going to be more so an urban romance writer next year.
Okay.
So I didn't want to tell anybody, but I'll tell you guys. Whoever knows, they
Look,
know.
we like the exclusives.
Whoever knows, they knows. I am actually retiring Kaige Kiera, the pen name, because I feel as though when I wrote Twisted Family and all the other books, I kind of probably traumatized too many people.
Okay.
My attention. So I wanted a fresh start. So I'm actually changing my pen name to Phoenix Snow. So I'm just changing everything over on
Oh, I
my
like.
I love it too.
I do.
So it's gonna be urban romance. Because I really do want to dwell into, it's probably be a cross between urban fiction and urban romance, but I really want to focus on the romance aspect of it, because I really do want to write romance, not because everybody likes to read it or is popular, but because I feel as though it's like a challenge to me to actually sit there and write a lovey-dovey story and actually feel proud of it. And that's like the challenge for next year, is just to really sit down and develop my pen in that genre, because I always said that I wanted to be able to write a book in each genre. So romance just seems to be like the one that's really challenging me at the moment.
You know, that's different. Every author we have had on has been somewhere in the romance, whether it's contemporary, whether it's, and you like, no, that's where that's the challenge for me. That's the hard part. That's where I'm at. Like, I don't know about this thing. I think you will do amazing at it. I think you'll do amazing. I
Thank you.
I read The Snowman.
How did you like it?
I did like it. I did
Okay.
like it. White House and all this and protect. Yeah, I liked it. I like it. I did.
The crazy
So
part, when I was writing it, I couldn't find Neb Black Secret Service agent nowhere, because I love visuals and I love doing a mood board for my books. And it was like so hard just to find a Black Secret Service man. And then my friend was like, "Cause ain't no Black man about this take a bullet for a right president." I'm like, "Oh my god."
I think is it one movie that is he black?
I don't know. I've
What
been
is it? Is
looking.
White?
I
No,
Googled.
White House Down is not. He's the black president and it's the white Secret
Yeah.
Service guy. So that one's not it. Oh, okay. So the Oval with Tyler Perry, all of them, they're black. Majority of them are black.
Because Tyler Perry probably said the same thing. Why ain't got no Black Secret
Yeah,
Service?
they black. I mean, the Secret Service, like the head of, he's black. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember, because I only watched
Hmm.
like a few episodes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Tyler probably said the same thing I said while trying to research the play. Why didn't you got no Black Secret Serviceman? I know we got him.
Because they like we ain't put. I'm not about to put my family on hold and everything to be out here trying to. Yeah, that part. That part. Yes. So where can we find your books?
On Amazon, I am currently in the process of trying to come up with my website so I can have paperback books. I'm still going to be selling books from Kaige Kiera. I'm just moving on to Phoenix Snow. The real reason why I want to move on, because eventually, after I master romance, I want to still be able to write under Phoenix Snow and move to a different genre. It's just that Kate has been with me since I was 15 and 16, and we have learned together, we have grew up together, we have conquered our fears. And I
Yeah.
always feel like at some point of time, I'm going to have to let her go, because she did what she came to do. And she pointed me in the right direction to move on. So when I thought of the name Phoenix Snow, it was more so is I love horror, but I also love winter. Um, so the Phoenix came from Harry Potter, which Phoenix rises from the ashes, and the symbolic meaning behind the Phoenix. And the snow actually came from Hunger Games, because I love the part where Cornelius Snow was like, "Snow always falls on top," and I was like, you know what, Phoenix Snow.
So yeah,
And
that's
then
it. That's the winner.
yeah,
I
Phoenix
love I
Snow.
love the name. And I
And then
like, I mean, it's hard sometimes to try to reinvent yourself, you know, put out a whole new image and everything like that. But I think sometimes it's needed, very much
it
so.
is needed.
It's
It
needed.
is
So I'm
needed.
glad you came on to even let the viewers and let us know that Phoenix Snow will be you, because we'll be like, oh, where can he go?
And that's
So
what I
yeah,
wanted. I wanted to have a funeral for Kaige. I was gonna post it on my page saying, "Hey, funeral for Kaige. Come in and say what you liked about her. Bring my girl out in style." She put her big toe in it. She came, she saw, she conquered. And
Right.
January 1st, Phoenix Snow, she pops up.
No, I like it. I think you're gonna do great things with that. I think your new journey into you got a few things popping off. So you're gonna be getting a new name, a new look, a new going into a new genre. So yeah, you got a few things you gotta tackle down in 2024.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking out for you. I have enjoyed you. I've enjoyed you coming on. Thank you for doing the game with me, entertaining me with the game. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and allow anyone to have any viewers have any questions to ask you at this time. Okay. And again, guys, that was Kaige Kiera looking out for Phoenix Snow.